In the heart of Gukara, a quiet village surrounded by tall trees and flowing rivers, lived a girl named Adana. The village was peaceful, filled with people who believed in the power of spirits and ancient traditions. But for Adana, life was anything but peaceful. She was only 16 years old, yet she had known nothing but hardship. After her parents died when she was young, she was forced to live with her aunt, Kamali. But instead of treating her like family, Kamali treated her like a servant. Every morning before the sun rose, Adana would wake up to fetch water, clean the house, and cook meals, while Kamali sat back and did nothing. No matter how hard Adana worked, it was never enough. Kamali always found a reason to scold her, sometimes even hitting her when no one was watching. But Adana was different from her aunt. She never let cruelty break her spirit. Despite her suffering, she was kind to everyone. She helped the elders carry their baskets, played with the younger children, and always had a warm smile for those who needed it. The villagers saw her struggle, and many of them felt sorry for her, but no one dared to interfere. Kamali was not just cruel, she was feared. What Adana didn't know was that Kamali carried a dark secret, a secret so dangerous that if Adana ever found out, it could change everything. And that secret was the reason Kamali would never let her go. A long time ago, Kamali was a respected woman in Gukara. She was beautiful, intelligent, and strong. Many people believed she was destined for greatness. But everything changed when the village spirits chose her younger sister, Zala, instead of her. The spirits spoke through the village elder, saying that Zala would bring honor and prosperity to their family. Kamali was furious. She had always believed that she was the special one, the one meant for greatness. But the spirits had ignored her. From that day, a fire of jealousy burned inside Kamali. She smiled in front of others, but deep inside, she hated her sister. She watched as Zala received love, respect, and admiration. And when Zala married a kind and powerful man and gave birth to a beautiful daughter, Adana, Kamali's hatred grew even stronger. She told herself that it should have been her. She should have been the one blessed by the spirits, the one with a happy family and a great future. Then, everything changed when Zala and her husband died in a mysterious accident. Some said it was the work of the spirits, while others whispered that Kamali had something to do with it, but no one could prove anything. Kamali took in Adana, pretending to be a kind and caring aunt, but deep in her heart, she had no love for the child. Every time Kamali looked at Adana, she felt rage and resentment. The girl had Zala's beauty, Zala's kindness, and Zala's intelligence. She reminded Kamali of everything she had lost, everything she believed was stolen from her. But what scared Kamali the most was the possibility that the spirits might choose Adana just like they had chosen her mother. The people of Gukara had long believed in prophecies and signs from the spirits. Kamali had heard the elders whispering about a child born with the mark of the river, a child who would bring great change. And Adana had a strange birthmark on her back, one that looked like a flowing river. Kamali couldn't ignore it. What if the spirits have chosen her? Kamali thought. What if she is meant to be greater than me? Fear mixed with her jealousy. She couldn't let Adana rise. She couldn't let her become powerful. If the villagers saw Adana's true potential, they would admire her, just like they once admired Zala. Kamali refused to live in her sister's shadow again. She had to stop Adana before it was too late. So Kamali watched. Every day, she observed Adana in secret, looking for weaknesses. She noticed how the villagers loved the girl, how they smiled at her when she helped them, how even the elders spoke kindly of her. This made Kamali's hatred grow even stronger. She must never realize her power, Kamali told herself. She must never be allowed to rise. Kamali started making Adana's life even harder. She forced her to wake up before sunrise and do all the housework. If Adana finished early, Kamali gave her even more work. She barely gave her enough food and made sure she was always tired, weak, and broken. She hoped that by treating her badly, Adana would never have the strength to discover who she truly was. But no matter how much Kamali tried to crush her, Adana never broke. She never stopped being kind, never stopped helping others, never stopped dreaming of something greater. And this terrified Kamali. One night, as Kamali lay awake in her hut, she heard the village elders talking outside. They were speaking about a prophecy. A child with the mark of the river shall bring change, one elder said. She will rise from the waters, stronger than before. Kamali froze. A cold chill ran down her spine. She remembered Adana's river-shaped birthmark. Was this prophecy about her? Fear gripped Kamali's heart. If the spirits had truly chosen Adana, then there was only one thing left to do. She had to destroy Adana before Adana destroyed her. The night was calm in Gukara, with the sound of rustling leaves and distant drumming from the village square. The air was warm, and the sky was painted with a blanket of stars. Kamali walked slowly along the narrow paths between the huts, pretending to be lost in thought, but in truth, she was listening, always listening. She stopped near the great baobab tree, where the village elders often gathered to talk. Tonight, they spoke in hushed voices, their faces serious. Makena, the eldest among them, leaned forward and whispered words that sent a chill through Kamali's bones. A child with the mark of the river shall bring change. She will rise from the waters, stronger than before. Kamali's breath caught in her throat. Her heart pounded. She gripped the tree trunk, her nails digging into the bark. A child with the mark of the river. She had heard this prophecy before, and she knew exactly who it was talking about. Her mind raced back to the day she had first noticed it. The mark on Adana's back. It was faint, almost hidden, but its shape was clear. A flowing river, twisting like a serpent. She had dismissed it back then, hoping it meant nothing. But now, hearing Makena's words, she knew Adana was the chosen one. Kamali felt as if the ground beneath her was crumbling. If this prophecy was true, if the spirits had chosen Adana, then everything she had worked for, everything she had stolen, would be taken from her. She wouldn't allow it. She peeked around the tree, watching the elders closely. They continued speaking, their voices deep and full of certainty. The river will not let her drown, Makena continued. Even if she is cast into the waters, she will return, stronger, greater, unstoppable. Kamali's blood ran cold. She clenched her fists, her nails biting into her palms. The river would not let her drown. Did that mean that even if she got rid of Adana, the spirits would bring her back? The thought made Kamali feel sick. Fear mixed with rage inside her. How could this insignificant girl be blessed by the spirits when she, Kamali, had spent her whole life waiting for such power? Why Adana? Why not her? But then, an even darker thought crept into Kamali's mind. What if Adana found out who she truly was? What if the villagers learned the truth? They would turn against Kamali. They would punish her for the way she had treated Adana. They would see Kamali for what she really was. A jealous, bitter woman who had tried to crush an innocent girl. She couldn't let that happen. Kamali backed away from the tree, her heart hammering. Her mind was spinning, but one thing was clear. Adana had to be eliminated. She had to act before it was too late. She hurried back to her hut, breathing heavily. Inside, the room was dark, the only light coming from a small oil lamp. She sat on the wooden floor, her hands shaking. I have to do it now, she whispered to herself, before she grows stronger, before the spirits protect her, before the village finds out the truth. Her eyes flickered toward the river, visible in the moonlight through the gaps in her hut, the river of spirits, where the villagers believed the souls of their ancestors lived. A wicked idea began to form in Kamali's mind. The river was the key. If Adana was meant to rise from the waters, then Kamali would make sure she never surfaced again. A cruel smile spread across her face. Tomorrow, she would take Adana to the river. She would pretend to be kind, to offer her a chance to honor her mother's memory. She would lure her to the water's edge, where the current was strongest, and then she would push her in. The villagers would believe it was an accident. They would mourn Adana, and Kamali, she would finally be free. Kamali took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had spent years hating Adana, fearing that she would become powerful. Now, she was taking control. Tomorrow, she whispered into the night. Tomorrow, she disappears forever. Kamali woke up early that morning with a plan that made her heart race. For years, she had treated Adana with cruelty, making sure the girl remained weak, tired, and broken. But now, everything was about to change. Today, she would pretend to be kind. Today, she would give Adana hope, only to take it all away. When Adana woke up, she was surprised to see Kamali smiling at her. It was a strange, unfamiliar sight. Kamali never smiled at her, at least, not with kindness. Usually, her face was twisted in anger or disgust. But today, she looked different. Wake up, child, Kamali said in a soft voice. We have something important to do. Adana blinked in confusion. What do you mean, Aunt? Kamali sighed, as if she was thinking deeply. It is time, she said. Time to honor your mother's memory. Adana's heart skipped a beat. She had not heard her mother's name spoken with love in many years. Ever since her parents had died, Camille had never allowed her to talk about them. But now, here she was, speaking as if she cared. "We will go to the river of spirits," Camille continued. "It is a sacred place. The river gods can bless you, protect you, and maybe even bring you closer to your mother's spirit." Adana's eyes filled with tears. Could it be true? Was Camille finally ready to treat her like family? Had the years of hatred finally come to an end? For the first time in forever, Adana felt hope. The news of Camille's sudden kindness spread quickly through the village. People whispered among themselves, shocked by what they saw. Camille, the same woman who had treated Adana like a servant, was now gently brushing the girl's hair, helping her dress, and preparing food for their journey. "Maybe she has changed," some villagers said. "Perhaps she finally sees the goodness in Adana," others whispered. But no one, not a single person, could see the evil behind Camille's smile. As the sun began to set, Camille packed a small bag. Inside, she placed a candle, some herbs, and a small wooden statue of the river gods, all for the ritual, of course. At least, that's what Adana believed. In truth, Camille needed an excuse to take the girl to the river. She needed everything to look real, so that when Adana disappeared, no one would question it. The sky darkened, and the full moon rose above the trees, casting a silver glow over the village. It was time. "Come, child," Camille said. Adana followed her. Excitement and nervousness mixed in her heart. She had never been taken anywhere special before. Maybe this was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment Camille finally accepted her as family. They walked in silence, their shadows stretching long in the moonlight. The night was cool, and the sound of the crickets filled the air. The closer they got to the river, the louder the water became. It was as if the river itself was calling Adana. When they finally arrived, the sight took Adana's breath away. The river of spirits glowed under the moon, its surface shimmering like liquid silver. The trees around it swayed gently, as if whispering secrets to the night. Camille took a deep breath. "Kneel," she said softly. "Close your eyes and pray to the river gods." Adana obeyed. She knelt by the edge of the water, closing her eyes, her heart beating fast. She thought about her mother. She thought about all the years she had spent feeling alone, unwanted, unloved. Maybe this was a new beginning. Camille slowly stepped behind her. Her fingers tightened into fists. Her heart pounded. This was it. One push, one strong push, and Adana would be gone forever. The river would swallow her whole, and Camille would never have to worry about the prophecy again. She raised her hands, ready to strike. But at that moment, something happened. The river suddenly roared louder, as if it had come to life. The wind picked up, swirling around them. The trees groaned, their branches shaking violently. It was as if the spirits were watching. Camille hesitated, her hands trembled, and then Adana opened her eyes. She felt something, an energy, a presence, something powerful surrounding her. It was as if the river itself was speaking to her, warning her. She turned around just in time to see Camille's hands raised in the air, and in that instant, she knew the truth. This was not a ritual. This was not about honoring her mother. Camille had brought her here to kill her. The river of spirits shimmered under the moonlight, its waters flowing strong and endless. The villagers believed that their ancestors lived within its depths, watching over them, guiding them, protecting them. Tonight, however, the river would witness something far darker, a betrayal that no soul would ever forget. Camille's heart pounded in her chest as she led Adana to the very edge of the river. The wind was soft, whispering through the trees, carrying with it the scent of wet earth and distant flowers. Everything was perfect. No one was around. No one would hear her scream. Adana, unaware of the danger lurking behind her, looked at the water with wide, hopeful eyes. It was beautiful, almost magical. She had never been allowed to come here before. She felt honored. For the first time in years, she believed Camille truly cared for her. Camille placed a hand on Adana's shoulder, her touch unusually gentle. "Kneel, child," she said in a soft voice. "Close your eyes. Pray to the river. Call out to your mother. Let the water connect you to her spirit." Adana's heart swelled with emotion. She had missed her mother for so long. The idea that she could somehow feel her presence again made her eyes sting with unshed tears. Slowly, she lowered herself to her knees, her hands resting on her lap. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. The cool breeze brushed against her face. She whispered, "Mother, if you can hear me, if you are watching over me, please give me a sign." Camille's fingers curled into fists. She could hear the softness in Adana's voice, the innocence in her words. It disgusted her. This girl, this child, was supposed to be her rival. This was the one who would one day rise and take everything from her. Number not, if she had anything to do with it. Her hands shook, but she forced herself to be steady. She took a slow step forward. Adana kept whispering, unaware of the danger closing in behind her. "I miss you, mother," she breathed. "I wish you were here." Kamali's breathing quickened. Now, before it's too late. With one sudden, forceful motion, Kamali shoved Adana forward. Adana let out a sharp, startled scream as she tumbled into the water. Her arms flailed wildly, trying to grab onto something, anything, but there was nothing. The river was too strong. The moment she hit the surface, the current ripped her away. She gasped, but the water rushed into her mouth, choking her. The river was not gentle. It was wild, merciless. It pulled her down, spinning her, dragging her deeper. The cold wrapped around her like 1,000 hands, pulling her into darkness. Her mind screamed, this wasn't right. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Above the surface, Kamali stood still, her hands trembling. She watched as the water swallowed Adana whole, her body disappearing beneath the waves. The river roared, as if angered, as if it knew what had just happened. The trees groaned, the wind howled, but Kamali did not move. She waited, she watched, she listened. The water rippled, shifting in the moonlight, but there was no movement, no splashing, no desperate gasps for air. The girl was gone. Kamali's chest rose and fell as she steadied her breath. It was over. The prophecy would never come true. Adana was dead. Slowly, Kamali turned away from the river. The village was waiting. She had to return before anyone started asking questions. As she walked away, the wind picked up behind her. The river raged, the night air heavy with something unnatural. It was as if the spirits were watching, but Kamali did not look back. She did not see the faint glow beneath the surface. She did not see the water stir. She did not see what was coming. The sun had just begun to rise over Gukara when Kamali stumbled into the village, her clothes soaked, her face twisted in fake sorrow. She fell to her knees, letting out a loud, heartbreaking wail. "She's gone!" she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Adana! She's gone!" The villagers, still half asleep, rushed toward her, their faces filled with concern. "What happened?" an elder asked, placing a hand on Kamali's shoulder. Kamali sobbed uncontrollably, shaking her head as if the pain was too much to bear. She gripped her chest, gasping for breath. "The river," she whispered. "The river took her." A loud gasp spread through the crowd. Mothers clutched their children. Elders exchanged worried glances. The river of spirits was sacred, but it was also dangerous. "Tell us what happened," another elder urged gently. Kamali took a deep, shaky breath, making sure her voice trembled with grief. "We went to honor her mother's spirit," she said, her lips quivering. "It was supposed to be a beautiful ritual, but then..." She let out a sharp cry, covering her face. The villagers leaned in, their hearts pounding. "But then what?" someone asked. Kamali lowered her hands slowly, staring at them as if she could still feel Adana slipping away. "She knelt by the river, just as I told her to," Kamali said in a broken voice. She was praying, whispering to her mother. "And then," she choked back a sob. "And then?" a young woman asked, her voice trembling. Kamali closed her eyes, as if the memory was too painful to relive. "She slipped," she whispered. The villagers gasped again. "The river's current was too strong," Kamali continued, tears dripping down her face. I tried to grab her, but she was gone. The river took her, swallowed her whole." Some of the villagers covered their mouths, their eyes filling with tears. An old woman shook her head sadly. "The spirits have claimed her," she murmured. A man sighed heavily. "She was so young, so kind," he said. A deep sadness settled over the village. Even those who did not know Adana well felt the weight of the loss. The elders immediately began preparations for a ceremonial farewell. They gathered around a large fire in the village center, chanting prayers to guide Adana's spirit. Women placed flowers near the fire, whispering blessings for her journey into the afterlife. The children, confused and afraid, held on to their mothers, sensing the sorrow in the air. Kamali stood among them, her head bowed, pretending to mourn. She squeezed her hands into fists, forcing out more tears, letting out small, shaky sobs whenever someone looked at her. Inside, however, her heart swelled with victory. She had done it. She had gotten rid of Adana. The prophecy would never come true. The village would never know the truth. She was finally free from the girl who had threatened her place. But what Kamali did not realize was that the river had not claimed Adana's soul. Not yet. Darkness surrounded Adana as she sank deeper and deeper into the river. The cold water pressed against her skin, filling her lungs, stealing her last breath. Her arms floated lifelessly, her body pulled down by the current. She could feel herself fading. Her mind grew quiet. The world above seemed so far away now. Was this the end? Just as her final breath slipped away, a soft blue light began to glow around her. At first it was faint, like the flicker of a candle, but then it grew stronger, wrapping around her body like a protective cocoon. Adana's eyes fluttered open. Though she was still underwater, she could see clearly. The river around her was no longer dark and terrifying. It was alive, shimmering with ancient energy. Then she saw him. A towering figure rose from the depths, his form glowing with the same mystical blue light. His skin was like the river itself, flowing and shifting as if made of liquid. His eyes, deep and endless, held the wisdom of 1,000 years. Zubayo, the guardian of the river. His voice was like the water, calm, powerful, and filled with mystery. You are not meant to perish, child of the river, he said. You have been chosen. Adana's heart pounded. Chosen? What did he mean? She wanted to speak, but the river seemed to understand her thoughts. Zubayo lifted a hand, and suddenly Adana felt warmth flood through her body. It started in her chest, then spread to her fingertips, her toes, her very soul. She felt stronger, as if the river itself was becoming a part of her. Then, without warning, a surge of power rushed through her veins. Adana gasped. Her eyes snapped open, now glowing with a soft blue light, just like Zubayo's. She no longer felt weak. She no longer felt afraid. She was not drowning. She was transforming. The river rose up, carrying her toward the surface, as if cradling its chosen child. The waters, once a force of destruction, now lifted her in protection. Adana was no longer just a girl who had been betrayed. She was something more, something powerful. The village of Gukara gathered beneath the great baobab tree, their faces heavy with sorrow. The elders stood at the center, preparing to offer prayers to guide Adana's spirit into the afterlife. Women placed flowers at the base of the tree, whispering her name. Children clung to their mothers, sensing the sadness in the air. Kamali stood among them, her head bowed, pretending to mourn. But inside, her heart swelled with victory. It was done. Adana was gone. Just as the ceremony began, a sharp gasp tore through the crowd. A woman clutched her chest. No, it cannot be, she whispered, her voice trembling. All heads turned toward the village entrance. There, walking barefoot across the dusty ground, was Adana. Her clothes were soaked, her hair wild and flowing, but it was her eyes that made the villagers freeze. They glowed faintly, a soft blue light shimmering within them. She looked the same, yet somehow completely different. Villagers stepped back in shock, some whispering prayers under their breath. She was dead, a man murmured, his voice filled with disbelief. We saw her drown. A young woman covered her mouth, her eyes wide with awe. She has returned from the river, she whispered, stronger than before. Kamali's body went cold. Her hands began to shake, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. This was impossible. Adana should have been gone forever. Yet here she was, alive, standing, staring directly at her. Kamali took a step back, her breath coming in short gasps. No, she whispered. No, this cannot be happening. Adana stopped in the center of the village. She did not speak. She did not need to. The river had changed her, and everyone could feel it. A strange, powerful energy filled the air, pressing against Kamali like an unseen force. The villagers, once mourning, now looked at Adana in awe and fear. The prophecy, had it come true? Silence hung heavy in the air as Adana stepped forward, her glowing eyes locked onto Makena. She reached out, her fingers trembling with an unseen force. Makena hesitated for only a moment before placing her hand in Adana's. The instant their skin touched, a blinding light erupted, sweeping through the crowd like a tidal wave. Gasps echoed as a vision unfolded before them, clear, undeniable, and horrifying. Kamali stood at the river's edge, her face twisted with jealousy. Her hands, cold and unfeeling, shoved Adana into the raging water. There was no accident, no slip, just pure betrayal. The memory played out in front of everyone, revealing Kamali's cruel smile, her calm steps back to the village, her fake tears the next morning. The moment the vision faded, the air crackled with outrage. "You lied!" a woman screamed, tears in her eyes. "She was your own blood!" An elder's voice trembled with fury. Makena took a slow, heavy step toward Kamali, her gaze burning with disappointment. Her voice, deep and powerful, cut through the chaos. "Kamali has betrayed us all. She must be judged." The crowd closed in, faces filled with rage and betrayal. Kamali's body shook violently. "No, this is a trick!" she shrieked, desperation leaking from her voice. "She is lying!" But no one believed her anymore. The truth had spoken, and now justice would be served. Kamali collapsed to her knees, her hands trembling as she clutched the dirt beneath her. Her once proud face twisted in desperation. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she lifted her arms, pleading. "Please!" she cried. "Forgive me! I was blinded by jealousy! I didn't mean to—" Before she could finish, a fierce wind tore through the air, howling like an angry beast. The ground shuddered, and the sky darkened as if the sun itself had turned away. A deep, ancient voice rumbled from the river, its tone heavy with judgment. "She who betrays blood shall be cast into the shadows." Kamali's sobs turned to screams. She tried to run, but her feet refused to move. Invisible forces wrapped around her, dragging her toward the dense forest. She clawed at the ground, leaving deep marks in the soil. "No, please," she wailed, her voice cracking. "Don't take me." The trees trembled, their leaves whispering secrets of old. The wind grew colder, sharper, as darkness swallowed her whole. Kamali's final piercing shriek echoed through the land, then silence. The villagers stood frozen, their hearts pounding. No one spoke, no one moved. The air remained thick with the presence of the unseen. The spirits had delivered their judgment. Kamali was gone, forever. A deep calmness settled over Adana as she stood beneath the vast sky, the air still humming with the presence of the spirits. A new energy flowed through her veins, powerful yet gentle, like the river itself. Makena stepped forward, her wise eyes filled with both pride and reverence. She placed a warm hand on Adana's shoulder and spoke softly. "The river chose you, Adana. Your journey is just beginning." Adana felt the weight of those words deep in her soul. She had been given a second chance, not just to live, but to discover the truth. The river had saved her for a reason, and she could no longer ignore the whispers of fate. Turning her gaze toward the horizon, she thought of her parents, their mysterious past, the prophecy, the power that ran through her blood. Too many questions remained unanswered. She knew she had to seek the truth, no matter where it led her. But one thing was clear. She would never allow injustice to take root again. Too many had suffered in silence, afraid of those who abused their power. That fear would end now. She took a deep breath, feeling the strength of the river spirits within her. The people she loved, the land she called home, all of it deserved to be protected. This was only the beginning. Years passed, yet Adana's name never faded. From the deepest forests to the farthest deserts, her legacy spread like the wind, carried from one village to the next. Elders whispered her tale, mothers spoke of her courage to their children, and warriors carved her name into their shields, drawing strength from her legend. Some claimed she rose to power, becoming a leader unlike any before her. With wisdom and kindness, she ruled with a heart as vast as the river itself. Under her guidance, no soul lived in fear, and no injustice remained unchallenged. The weak found shelter, the lost found purpose, and peace settled over the land like never before. Others believed she became something greater than flesh and bone. The river she once drowned in had given her new life, binding her spirit to its waters forever. Fishermen swore they saw her reflection dancing upon the waves at sunset. Travelers claimed to hear her voice in the rushing streams, whispering promises of justice and protection. Some even said that when a child cried out in need, the water would shimmer, and a soft presence would embrace them, unseen, but undeniably real. Many sought to find her, hoping to glimpse the one who defied death, but no one ever could. Some said she walked among the rivers, guiding those who had been wronged. Others believed she had become one with the spirits, forever watching, forever guarding. Her name was not just spoken, it was felt. It echoed in every act of bravery, every fight for justice, and every moment someone stood against cruelty. She was more than a memory. She was a force that would never fade. One thing remained certain. Adana was eternal. The world does not change on its own. Bravery shapes it. For too long, injustice has thrived in silence. Too many voices have been drowned out. Too many lives have been cast aside. But no more. Strength lies in those who refuse to bow to fear, who refuse to accept cruelty as fate. Adana's story is not just a legend. It is a reminder that one act of courage can turn the tide, that one person's stand can become a force no darkness can withstand. Now is the time to rise. Now is the time to act. The powerless still suffer, waiting for someone to speak, to fight, to protect. Every moment wasted is another moment where injustice grows stronger. But those who carry the fire of truth, those who refuse to back down, hold the power to change everything. No oppressor is undefeatable. No cruelty is beyond challenge. The only thing needed is the will to step forward, to take action, to refuse to be silent. Legends are not born in comfort. They are forged in the fire of struggle. Those who came before have done their part, but their fight is not over. The spirit of Adana lives on in every heart that chooses courage over fear, justice over silence. No force is greater than the will of those who refuse to break, who refuse to surrender to darkness. Step forward. Speak louder. Stand unshaken. Let no more lives be lost to fear. Let no more suffering go unnoticed. Strength is not given, it is claimed. The battle for justice is never truly over, and every moment is an opportunity to tip the scales. Now is the time. Now is the moment. Stand up, rise, and let the world remember.